Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a genuinely captivating story from the Astika Parva. We're going to unpack exactly how a seemingly petty sibling wager rapidly, and I mean rapidly, escalates into a divinely sanctioned apocalypse for an entire species. The sheer scale of how quickly things get out of hand in this narrative is just absolutely fascinating. We're exploring an ancient text that delivers this incredibly striking moral lesson. It's a pretty heavy statement, right? It's essentially telling us that cosmic justice is utterly ruthless against those who exist only to do harm. But what's really wild is how we actually arrive at this grand philosophical conclusion. The doom of thousands, the ultimate fulfillment of this massive cosmic law, well, it wasn't set into motion by some epic war of the gods, but by a simple domestic bet between two sisters. Section 1. A high-stakes sisterly wager. Okay, to understand how we get there, let's look at the inciting incident. First off, a massive mythological event takes place where the ocean itself is churned. Second, out of this cosmic churning emerges a horse of just incomparable beauty and prowess named Uchchaihshravas. Third, two sisters, Kadru and Vinata, spot the horse and instantly place a wager on its color. And fourth, and this is where things completely go off the rails, the loser of the bet promises to become the winner's slave. Notice how quickly the stakes snowball here. We go from just admiring a magical horse to a life-altering bet in the blink of an eye. And the sheer, unbending confidence of both sisters here is fascinating. On one side, we have Vinata, who looks at this prince of steeds and asserts, without a doubt, that it is certainly pure white. On the other side, Kadru looks at the exact same horse and claims, nope, it is black in its tail. They just directly contradict each other. It's a classic disagreement, sure, but their intense stubbornness sets up an immediate, unresolvable conflict. And just to really reiterate the gravity of this wager, this isn't just a friendly disagreement where the loser buys lunch. No, they resolve to go home, return the next day to examine the horse up close, and whoever guessed incorrectly will be forced into menial servitude. They are literally gambling their absolute freedom on the color of a horse's tail. Section 2, Deception and a Cruel Curse. Facing the very real possibility of spending the rest of her life as a slave to her own sister, Kadru realizes she might actually be wrong about the color. So she decides that playing fair simply isn't an option anymore. Just look at this incredibly cunning three-step scheme she comes up with. Step 1, she plans a deception. Step 2, she goes to her children, who, by the way, happen to be 1,000 snakes, and orders them to physically transform themselves into black hair. Step 3, she instructs them to speedily cover the horse's tail. Basically, if the tail isn't black, she's going to artificially make it black using her own children just to ensure she wins the bet and keeps her freedom. But here is where Kadru's foolproof plan hits a massive roadblock. Her 1,000-snake sons say no. They flat out refuse to participate in their mother's trickery and deception. It's this really unexpected moment of moral defiance from the offspring, and it brings the story to a dark, sudden climax. Kadru is absolutely furious at their disobedience, and her reaction? Disproportionate and devastating. She unleashes this incredibly cruel curse upon her own children, which we pulled directly from the source text here. During the snake sacrifice of the wise King Janamejaya of the Pandava race, Agni shall consume you all. Literally. Because they wouldn't help her cheat, she condemns her 1,000 sons to be burned alive by Agni, the god of fire, in a future king's sacrifice. Which brings us to a really crucial pivot in the text. Think about it. How do the gods react to a mother cursing her children to a fiery doom? You would logically expect the heavens to open up and punish a mother for such a horrific, fatal decree against her own offspring. You'd expect divine intervention to step in and save the innocent snakes, right? Section 3. The gods approve the doom. Well, instead of punishing Kadru, the divine creator, Brahman, alongside the other gods, hears this curse and actually offers his full support. This brilliantly illustrates the wider cosmic perspective of the text. Why on earth would the gods sanction this? The text gives us 4 very specific practical reasons. The snakes had multiplied exceedingly, so a huge overpopulation problem. They possessed virulent poison. They had huge bodies and excess strength. And most importantly, they were ever intent on biting and persecuting other creatures. Brahman looks at Kadru's curse not as a mother's petty vengeance, but as a highly convenient solution to a massive, venomous threat to all other living things. So, the text presents a fascinating moral ambiguity here. The ancient narrator explicitly acknowledges that Kadru's curse was exceedingly cruel, impelled by the fates, yet, almost in the exact same breath, it declares her conduct very proper for the good of all creatures. It's a stunning paradox, isn't it? A deeply immoral act of maternal betrayal somehow becomes a necessary evil for the greater cosmic good. Which directly connects back to the core philosophical justification we looked at earlier on. We see it pop up again here. Fate always inflicts punishment of death on those who seek the death of other creatures. The snakes were persecutors. They actively sought the death of others. Therefore, cosmic justice naturally steps in to eradicate them. The gods exchange these exact sentiments with one another and fully back Kadru's horrific action. Section 4. Comfort for a grieving father. Now, the story doesn't just end with a death sentence. There is still the emotional fallout to deal with. There is the matter of the snake's father, Kasyapa, a pure and illustrious figure who now has to process the impending, divinely sanctioned doom of all his children. Brahman, the divine creator, actually calls Kasyapa to him. He sees the father's potential for deep grief and offers him these words: "O son, do not grieve for it in the least. The destruction of the snakes and the sacrifice hath indeed been ordained long ago." Brahman reveals to the father that this mass destruction wasn't an accident. It wasn't just the sudden result of a mother's bad temper. No, it was destined to happen all along by the fates. And to provide ultimate comfort and to ensure the cosmic balance is maintained moving forward, the creator gives the grieving Kasyapa an incredible gift. Brahmana imparts to him the powerful knowledge of how to neutralize venom. It's a really remarkable ending note, turning a harsh decree of death into the birth of life-saving knowledge, neutralizing the very threat that the snakes posed in the first place. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final provocative thought. We started with two sisters basically betting on the color of a horse to see who would do the chores, and it ended with the preordained execution of thousands of toxic beings to balance the universe. If a petty sibling wager is the very mechanism used to execute a preordained cosmic judgment, are our everyday choices truly our own? Or, in a world where a mother's cheating perfectly fulfills a divine prophecy, are we merely instruments of fate playing out a script we didn't even write? It's a fascinating question to chew on. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this text, and as always, keep questioning the narratives around you.